This is episode number 7 with Crosby Tailor. The Melissa Ambrosini Show. Welcome to the Melissa Ambrosini Show. I'm your host, Melissa, best-selling author of Mastering Your Mean Girl, and I'm here to remind you that love is sexy, healthy is liberating, and wealthy isn't a dirty word. Each week, I'll be getting up close and personal with thought leaders from around the globe to uncover the habits, mindsets, tools, and rituals that they have used to become world-class so that you can create epic change in your own life and become the best version of yourself possible. Are you ready, beautiful? Crosby Tailor is an LA-based model and athlete turned health coach, avid nutrition researcher, biohacker, and sugar-free dessert chef. Yum-o. He studied Chinese Tonic Herbalism, is a self-taught nutritionist who believes that everyone is different, and therefore not just one diet or lifestyle will work for everyone, which is why he created the Tailored Life. Crosby's intent is to provide you with the necessary tools to evolve into the superhuman living within you. Sounds pretty good to me. Now, I met Crosby 3 years ago, I think it was, with my husband when we went to LA, and my husband and Crosby instantly hit it off and had a bit of a bromance. He is so generous and knowledgeable, and one of the things I love most about him is his big heart and how willing he is to share his wisdom. I really, really love that about him, and I'm so excited for you guys to hear this interview because it is jam-packed with goodness. In this interview, we chat about how to eat dessert and burn fat. Yes, you heard me right. Why you need good fats in your diet, how good fats will help you lose weight, have humming hormones and sexy skin, exactly how much body fat is desirable for women, what sugar's actually doing to your body and why you need to avoid it, and how to avoid aging, plus so much more. Like I said before, this interview is jam-packed with goodness, but don't worry, you can get all the information and everything that Crosby and I mention in the show notes, and you can get that at melissaambrosini.com/7. So head there and you can get all of the links to everything that we talk about. So without further ado, let's dive into this interview with the one and only Crosby Tailor. Welcome, Crosby. It is so awesome to have you here. I'm so grateful to get to dive in deep about fats with you today.
Hey, Melissa, how are you? Yeah, I'm excited. This is going to be great. It's been a while.
It has. I always love coming to LA and catching up with you, and I always leave so much more full of knowledge and information. So I always love our catch-ups, and I know everyone listening is going to get so much out of our time together. But before we dive in, can you please tell us what you had for breakfast this morning?
For breakfast this morning, I had a bulletproof coffee. Shocker. It was with 2 tablespoons of grass-fed collagen, a tablespoon of brain octane oil, a pretty thick slice of grass-fed Kerrygold butter. And then I'm incorporating some Chinese herbs into my tonic every morning. So this morning I had Romania 6, chaga, and lion's mane. A little stevia too, so you've got to flavor it.
Yum. That sounds delicious.
Yeah.
So I wanted to chat to you first. You live in Hollywood. You work with a lot of women. Mm-hmm. What are some of the most common mistakes women are making in terms of their health?
I think one of the first things that they're always very interested in, or right away when they dive into, doing a consultation with me, is how many calories? How many calories is this diet? How many calories is my breakfast? How many calories is my lunch? They're very concerned with calories. And it's, in the beginning, it's really hard to explain because, when somebody, a lot of the people that I'm working with are either models or actresses. And so the first thing they think of in terms of keeping measurements or keeping their body composition in the place they want it to be is calories. They're thinking calories in, calories out. What do I have to eat? How much do I have to burn? And, that can create a lot of issues, from inflammation to stress to the body being completely adrenally fatigued from not getting enough calories, and then on top of that working out too much, so it's a fine line. There's a fine line there, because you also don't want to kind of like scare them off and for them to not even get into the diet in the first place, because they're, they see fat as such a, high calorie intake. It's 9 calories for a gram of fat and 4 calories for a gram of carbohydrates. So they're going, well, if I eat this fruit, this is going to be this many calories. If I eat this fat, this avocado, or this butter, or this MCT oil, look at all these calories in here. And so that's a big concern. And it's the right, it takes time to educate, because in a way there's a fear behind that. Calories have meant for a long time that if you eat too many calories, you're going to get fat. But once they start to trust and get into a place where they can see that it's working for them. So the first couple weeks, it's hard, because they're always kind of checking in with me and just kind of a little fearful of that their body's going to turn a certain way if they're eating too many calories. And eventually they realize that these are the types of nutrient-dense calories that your body needs in order to sustain energy levels, in order to burn fat even better, in order to sleep better. And then all of that points toward their hormones getting more balanced. So over time, they realize that soft drink or that fruit juice that was only 80 calories was way worse than them having, 300, 400 calories in a meal that's got superfoods and good fats and protein and fiber and no sugar. So calories is definitely a big one. Do you notice that a lot when you work with people?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I was one of those girls. I was completely fat phobic. We grew up in the 80s where it was the low fat fads everywhere. And we're now seeing such a rise in the love of good quality fats, from brain octane and grass-fed butter. But most people that I come across are still incredibly scared of fats. Yeah. And it was how I ran and lived my life. Like everything in my fridge was fat-free or low fat. But now, since incorporating fats back into my life, I feel more energetic and more vital than ever before. And not only that, I used to have acne, and I now don't have acne. And on top of all of that, I'm a lot less stressed because my hormones are more balanced. And when I didn't incorporate fat into my life, I lost my period for 1.5 years. Wow. So as soon as I started adding these fats back into my life, it's like my hormones started to dance again, and they were just they were drinking it all up. Yeah. But what can we say to those women who are completely fearful of fats and scared of them? Why are they so essential?
The nourishment that a lot of these fats are going to have on your brain, first of all, the brain chemistry behind it. These are major cognitive foods. And when you're eating the right amount, and there's a balance too. You can't, as a 115 pound woman, girl, you can't be eating, too much or too little. There's a nice balance in there of the good fats. Because, the digestive process, especially when you're switching over from more of a fruit and carbohydrate, a normal breakfast that I see with people is an oatmeal, fruit, blueberry, yogurt. And that's the healthy one, whereas some people are just having a soft drink.
Oh my gosh. No, you're joking. You're joking me.
Oh yeah. I've worked with people that wake up to a Diet Coke.
No.
Oh yeah.
I don't believe you.
Well, there's no calories, So in their head, they're thinking this is what it's going to do is get me skinny. But over time, what it's going to actually do is actually store more fat, because your body doesn't know what to do with those empty calories. It has no idea what it is. Whereas when you're eating these good fats, your body understands what it is. It sends, it starts to send a cascade of signals off in the body, especially from the brain, hypothalamus. Everything's working together to tell everything to work in synergy, from the secreting the type of enzymes you need, and your metabolism getting boosted and getting fired up. And like you said, when you're working with good fats like a brain octane oil, which is an MCT oil, this is a medium chain triglyceride fat that's going to burn. It's going to burn. It's not going to store ever. So, I mean, I've had people using MCT oil in their dinner and freaked out that this fat wasn't going to burn off before they went to sleep. And I said, no, trust me, like this, you can take this before bed. Like, this is the type of fat that your body will utilize and burn as energy that it needs, especially for the brain. And once they get into that state where they believe it, then, you know, I see them coming back to me. They're like, oh, I had half an avocado for lunch with, and I poured a little of that MCT oil in there, and I had butter in my coffee in the morning, and they're just sharper. I've noticed like their skin is more, you know, smooth and supple, and they're losing, like you said, they're losing a lot of like the acne issues, because the acne issues are really just because they're consuming too much sugar. There's too much fermentation going on, and eventually, you know, you're going to end up with a ton of bad bacteria and yeast that's going to create these issues in the skin. Also, you know, the high having like a high intake of fructose, glucose, where you're spiking your blood sugar on an ongoing basis throughout the day. That high insulin increase is that when you have those insulin spikes throughout the day, all you're going to do is store belly fat. You're going to increase inflammation. You're going to raise your triglyceride levels. You're going to lower your HDL, which is your good cholesterol. You're going to raise your blood sugar. And in women, this also contributes to infertility. So over time, like, you're just throwing your body off big time, where all you have to do is trust and realize that these good fats are your friend. And slowly, I'm not going out there telling a lot of my clients to like dive right in and start having 200 grams of fat a day. It's more about getting used to adding it to most of their meals throughout the day and getting the good ones, and then being, you know, aware when they go and buy things and looking at the packages to see, is this full of the bad fats? You know, you got to watch out for the trans fats and the vegetable oils. And if you go to the supermarket and you're going to eat something in the hot food section, you know, like, I'm blessed to have a place called Erewhon that like has a lot of these foods that I want to eat, and they're cooked in like halfway decent oils. But on a regular basis, you know, you go to Whole Foods, it's canola oil. You really can't go anywhere and eat the hot foods if you're trying to stay away from the bad fats. And then the other one that's everywhere is soy. And so like there's just all of these toxins and bad fats are in everything. And so over time, it makes these people more aware of what they should be putting in their body too. So it's cool. It's like they start to educate themselves. They start to trust. They start to realize that, like, wow, like I just did a consultation, or I sat down with a friend who works really well as a model. She's always, you know, on a weekly basis, because she has a couple normal clients that she does swimsuit stuff for. She has to do measurements and make sure that she's staying on par with that. But she also wants to live her life, and she likes food. And she realized that grains and some of these things don't work for her, and that the paleo approach was better. And she's at times, like, she can even get too lean when she's on a high fat diet. So she's the type, she's trusted so much that she's been burning so much body fat, and getting like even leaner than she needs to get. And so she came to me on a second consultation and was like, what kind of carbs can I put back into my diet to like fill me out a little more? So it works. Like if you're looking to like create the body composition that you want, like this is the way, you know. And your brain, it can stay as fired up as you want it. That's the cool thing. It's like your nervous system isn't out of balance. You are on top of your game on a regular basis, and you're getting nourished, and you're you know, taking care of your hormones, which over time, when you eventually want to have kids, like I said before, you know, the high sugar consumption will contribute to infertility. So eventually, a lot of these people I've seen when I was working at the Chinese herb shop come to me, and they're going like, we can't get pregnant. And that was their diet. They were high sugar and starch consumers that eventually, or vegans, and they eventually had to switch over to a higher fat approach where they were getting moderate protein levels and staying away from these sugars. So there's just so much more information out now, and I really think that people are coming around to this. But it's just cool that we can just keep like things that just keep coming out, and like more like who the doctor that's talking about this right now, Mark Hyman, is big into it, and he's talking about it. So just more and more reputable people are coming out with this information. It's really great.
Yeah, you're so right. And everything that Crosby has mentioned so far, like all of the Brain Octane and Mark Hyman, will put all of the information in the show notes. So don't worry, you don't have to grab a pen and paper right now. I know for me personally, I have a lot of friends and a lot of women come to me and they say, yeah, but I don't need to look after my hormones because I'm not thinking about having a baby anytime soon. But can you just dive deep into that for us for a second? Because it's not just about producing a baby. Like, happy hormones are essential for stress, to release, to decrease cortisol in our body. What else are happy hormones really imperative for in the body?
Well, like you said, that's a big one right there, is cortisol. And if your cortisol is out of balance or out of whack, good luck in like trying to get rid of that stubborn belly fat, because that's where all the stress fat sits, is right in that belly button line. And I've seen a lot of people, 18 to 25 years old, that are super stressed out and their hormones are crazy. And a lot of them are on like vegan or high fruit diets. And they've always, unless they have amazing genetics, that's somewhere where they always have a problem. So in terms of body composition, cortisol is a huge issue. And if you don't get this in check, it's not only going to affect you in an aesthetic way, but also in the brain, in the mind. So over time, that, like you said, that stress, it's just, everything's going to stress you out. You won't be able to adapt to any situation. Can kind of turn into a mess and have like crazy mood swings. So it all kind of works together, cortisol, insulin. If you are consuming a high sugar diet, eventually, your insulin spikes are going to be, your body's going to be like, okay, I'm over it. I don't really want to deal with trying to digest the sugar, secrete enough insulin for the sugar every single time, and your pancreas just gets tired, and eventually that stores too, and that's going to actually store in the lower back and more like butt and that kind of area. So you have those, you're kind of creating aesthetically, if whoever's listening to this and their only thing that they're concerned about is the aesthetics, here are two reasons why you don't want to not think about your hormones, because eventually you're going to end up with a tire. You're going to get that belly fat tire, but with that, you're also going to kind of start going crazy, because it's going to affect your stress levels are going to through the roof. And then on top of that, if you're not controlling your hormones, your appetite hormone will eventually go through the window too, and you just won't even know when you're full. So all those factors will create these mental issues, physical issues, that over time, it doesn't matter how old you are, you're not going to be fun to be around. You won't even want to be around yourself, and you're going to be stressed out and trying to figure out why you keep holding on to certain weight and why you can't get it off. And eventually, like, a lot of these people, if you're not strong enough, or if you don't see the right person that can help you, resort to eating disorders, issues with that too. So it's kind of a downhill slope. When you are aware, and when you really want to fix these things and work on your hormones, that's when everything gets better. I mean, your life will completely change. It doesn't matter how old you are. It's a big factor for both men and women. Once we get that in check and understand how everything works in our body and how we can keep our hormones balanced and realize that like we can work with the genetics that we were given and tweak it in ways that'll benefit us with our hormones, just everything gets easier. So for everyone out there listening about your hormones and not caring whether if it's like, I mean, if you're getting your period or not getting your period, you want to get your period. You want to have like a normal female cycle lifestyle that is going to, put you back into a balanced state for everything in life.
Yeah, exactly. Irregular period indicates, health and vitality, and that things are humming along really beautifully for you. I have read a lot about women that store a lot of the belly fat, and that being an indication that something's not quite right and that we need to kind of look into our hormones, and maybe we're eating, like you said, too much sugar and too much carbohydrates and not enough fats. But a lot of women that store the weight around their butt and thighs, that essentially we need a little bit of meat there, right? Like we need a little bit of body fat around that area. Would you agree with that?
Well, yeah. I mean, women naturally carry more body fat than men. So if you are operating at a very low body fat as a woman, like that's not healthy. It's also harder for, like, women don't have the same reserve as a man either when it comes to that. So like, men can operate at a pretty low body fat for a long time, but women can't. It's just it's something with their blood sugar and just in general, it's a lot better. And obviously, you want to be carrying more of that because, at the time when you want to actually have a child, like these are the things that you kind of need. That's how a woman is created. And yeah, I totally agree that women should have more body fat. They should not be concerned with having that more body fat. And there's like a good, what is a good number? It was like something like anywhere from like 15 to 25% body fat is great. It's great for a woman. And I think that's a very normal place to be. When you're under that, usually these are the types of women that are like competing or doing something in the bodybuilding world, especially if you're getting under 10. Like that's like really, really low. A man operating at 8 could be an athlete or, just has a ton more muscle on him. So they're constantly burning fat. So they're going to naturally have a lower body fat. But yeah, like that, those target areas are where you're going to store a little bit more fat because as a woman, you have more estrogen. So the estrogen level areas were what you were talking about, that like lower buttocks, thighs, and also back of the triceps is where you're going to store more of your estrogen fat. And for somebody in the industry that's looking to create more of a balance so that they can keep their lean physique, but also still keep their like that womanly feeling figure and keep their hormones straight, as long as they're eating the good fats all the time. You can stay away from soy and detoxify the bad estrogens with things like DIM and calcium D-glucarate, indole 3-carbinol, and then using things like maca, you can balance the hormones in that way to keep a leaner physique. And then on top of that, biohack it in a way to eat all the good fats so that you're nourishing your hormones still, and you'll still have your natural cycle. You'll feel like you're detoxifying well. And that's kind of like the tweak, I think. I think that's where a lot of people are going, well, the only reason I'm not getting my period is because I'm too skinny, but I have to be skinny for my job. Well, no, that's not necessarily true. Like if you do it in a certain way, you can still be the leanest you've ever been and still be a fully functioning woman and have the vitality to have all the natural things happen. So I think that there's just like some cool biohacks that we can teach people or get out there in the world to where, these women are are still getting nourished.
So important. It is so important. And not only for just functioning, but like you said before, you're a nicer person. You know, when my hormones are out of whack, I'm not a very nice person to be around. Like, I wouldn't want to be around me. So yeah, for your happiness levels, for your stress, everything. So let's talk about genes for a second. You mentioned it before. It is now scientifically proven that we can turn our genes on and off, and that we are not our genes. We can express them. How do fats play a role in your genes and the expression of, and whether they're on or off?
Well, to my understanding, when it comes to certain fats, like, let's just say, like we're going down the more saturated fat route, like we're talking about brain octane and grass-fed butter and those kind of things. I think that what happens is when you're constantly giving yourself the right types of brain fats, I feel like it's a brain chemistry thing. When you're getting the right brain foods, you're in a place where you're in more control, and you can control the genes and have this kind of like off switch where you're talking about the switches of like tendency switches, like tendencies toward certain issues or chronic diseases or cancers or these kind of things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so when the brain's getting nourished in these kinds of ways, I really think that that's like a big contributing factor. And then the brain, when it's not nourished, obviously I think that contributes more to high sugar intake. So the sugar and the foods that are inflammatory. So eating, like realizing in your genetic makeup that, you know, if you had a tendency, if in your family line, your tendency was diabetes, like there's a lot of diabetics in your family. Well, the last thing you want to do is turn on that diabetic gene by eating a ton of sugar all the time. And that's what's going to happen. Like eventually when you're eating tons of sugar and you're playing right into that part, eventually you're 40, 50 years old and you're diabetic. And you're like, oh, damn, I have diabetes. But the whole time when you were 20, you knew that there was 4 people in your family that had diabetes. And the one thing that the major contributor to diabetes is high sugar consumption. Well, you pushed yourself and you kept that gene turned on for that whole time. You know, same with like something like, you know, anything that has like even cancer. You know, one of the contributing factors to a lot of different cancers are, you know, chronically high levels of inflammation and sugar consumption, and just eating a ton of toxins. But if you had certain types of cancers in your family, you can look at the epigenetics of it and see in the gene makeup, like, well, what causes those things? Well, I must not eat those things, or stay away from those kinds of foods, or make sure that I'm cleaning my house with certain household products and not the ones full of chemicals. So I think there's something to be said for like realizing your ancestry and your genes and seeing like I've always been very interested in the gut and taking a ton of probiotics and digestive enzymes and making sure that I'm staying away from foods that grow yeast and create a, you know, influx of bad bacteria, because my dad's side, my grandpa on my dad's side died of a stomach aneurysm. So I know that like there could be some, and my dad's always had digestive issues. So I kind of like, okay, well, that's something to look at. And what causes digestive issues? Well, these things. Well, what do I need to do? Take a probiotic, keep my gut healed all the time with like bone broth, and stay away from sugar, and eat like nourishing fats that seal up everything, and the mycelium sheath, and all that. You know, I think that that's just something that once you educate yourself with, I mean, I don't know what kind of runs in your family, but I know that like that's kind of how I've always navigated it. I know there's all these different tests you could do now, 23andMe, and certain things you could do that will even tell you in your gene expression, like which ones you have. And if you have like certain ones, I haven't done it, but if you have certain, my friends have done it. If you have certain genes, like you really should stay away from these foods because they'll really push you into that area. So it's interesting. I mean, it's now that we have the science, I think that people can live a lot longer because we have the science to look at like, okay, what's eventually going to kill us? And take that and tweak it and go, oh, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. Yeah. And it's cool. It's really, really cool. I don't know if that answers your question, but
yeah, absolutely. No, it's great. And I have done that gene test, and it was one of the best things I ever did because I learned that I have MTHFR. Do you know a little bit about that gene?
I've heard of it. Yeah. I've heard of this through a friend who I think has the same one. And but so don't go ahead and tell me. I don't remember, but okay, go ahead. So you can't do something, right?
Well, it basically, there's so much about it, but actually I think there's about 40 to 50% of people that have MTHFR. And what I struggle with having MTHFR is my detox pathways are a little bit more compromised. So for me, it's about keeping my detox pathways open as much as possible. So, and having MTHFR affects the way that our body absorbs folate. So for someone who has MTHFR and goes to, this is my very non-scientific, I'm not a doctor, my understanding of it. So for someone who is, wanting to make a baby and they go to the chemist and they just grab a folic acid off folic, baby making supplement off the shelf, which a lot of people do, and they start taking it, not knowing that they may have MTHFR, can really affect them because their body cannot absorb and assimilate that type of folic acid. So it can cause a whole heap of issues. And then your body, your detox pathways are closed. So then those toxins are just circulating around your body. So you become a psycho person. Well, that's what happened to me. I became an incredibly angry human being. I became really psychotic almost because there's all these toxins that were just circulating around my body. So I know for me what I need to do to keep my detox pathways open. And one of those things for me is really avoiding sugar. I don't cope. I do not cope very well. I haven't eaten sugar in many, many years. I can tell if I've eaten it out and it's in my body, even if it's just a little bit of organic raw honey or something like that. It does really affect me. And we've mentioned sugar a few times throughout this call so far. I believe that it is one of those things that really doesn't help us thrive. And I'm all about doing things that really help you thrive and feel vital and energetic. And for me, sugar is not one of those, but people are so addicted. And I was so addicted. So I'd love to hear a little bit about sugar and how it affects us. And also for those people who have a sweet tooth, what are the alternatives?
Yeah. So when it comes to refined sugar, this is something that, unless it sneaks into my food in some kind of sauce, or if I really don't know it's there, I avoid it at all cost. Me too. It's just purely going to spike blood sugar. Yeah, it's just blood sugar spike, and right away it's going to be a feeder, especially if you're not the type of person that burns sugar very well. That's going to create a fermentation situation right away that's going to affect your gut, which is where 80% of your serotonin is, along with everything that happens in your digestive system. So like we were saying before, your elimination, your detoxing issues can be caused. The can be caused by high sugar, because what you're doing is just destroying the natural abilities of your system, your gut to eliminate. And eventually it's going to lead down a really, really rough road where, your mental stability is going to go definitely next. I think Dave Asprey once told me that it takes 3 steps for a ketone from fat to get to the brain. And it takes 26 steps for our body to recognize sugar as energy in the brain. So imagine how much more the nervous system has to work and what it has to do in order to get that kind of energy. And on top of that, a lot of people are like, well, what about fruit? Why can't I eat a bunch of fruit? I still like sugar. Why can't I eat fruit? It's a whole food. It's got fiber. And it does. Fruit does have fiber. And obviously, if you're going to eat fruit, I would avoid juicing fruit because you lose the fiber. But even having fruit on a regular basis or high consumptions of fruit, I think that people don't understand that fruit is half of fruit is fructose and the other half is glucose. Where our body will burn the glucose, that's the energy source of sugar that we're going to burn. But fructose doesn't burn. Fructose just stores. And what it does is eventually it will store as fat. It'll create a fatty liver. It'll create a lot of toxicity in the liver. And eventually this is how a lot of people end up with problems down the line in eating high sugar from fruit, high fruit diets, like the fruitarians. Well, in the beginning, they'll feel great because they're oxidizing food so fast. Everything that they're eating is getting burnt so fast. So their digestive system is going to feel a lot better in the beginning because it's nothing slowly digesting. You're not eating a heavy fat protein type meal and slowly digesting that. You're running through food. So you're kind of going to be always perked up, especially if you're constantly eating it throughout the day. Of course, you're going to have these high spikes of energy. And then eventually 2 weeks later, your body's, when it's, been storing and storing and storing, you're going to end up with so much liver toxicity that you won't know what to do. So a lot of these, people will eventually resort to trying to get back into omnivorous type diets, but they have a lot of work to do. So sugar's just, it's rough, if you're having too much of it all the time, it's going to eventually affect your health in a negative way. And it's just too much research, people want to have omnivorous type diets. Well, low glycemic fruits are really, really great. I don't mind the occasional cup of blueberries or any type of the berries that are low glycemic and have antioxidants. But I also don't eat them like goji berries, but I also don't eat these fruits with other foods.
And why is that?
It's just the way that the two digest together is kind of complicated. So it creates some distress and digestive issues and will eventually, the fruit wants to digest and be used really fast. And if you throw and it's a big snack, when people have an apple and almond butter, they're like, oh, it's great. Well, I don't think it's that great. I think that the sugar in the apple is going to slowly digest the way it's not, slowly digest with the fat in a way that it's going to eventually sit there and ferment in the gut and create the bacterial issues. Whereas people are thinking, well, it's the slow absorption. Well, the slow absorption really naturally should just be with the fiber of the fruit.
Mm. So if people are going to eat some organic low GI fruits, you would suggest always eating them away from everything else and on their own. I know you love, like myself, Donna Gates and Body Ecology, and she talks a lot about the different speeds that things ferment. So is that what you're kind of saying?
Yeah. That's exactly what I'm saying. And in general, I think there's a lot of information out there that a lot of people can agree that they've always felt better when they eat fruit on their own.
Absolutely. It bloats. It bloats me. I don't eat fruit, but in the past it has bloated me. And I don't feel good. And I think one of the most important things with everything that we put in our mouth, tune into your body and ask yourself, like, does this make me feel good? And if it doesn't, like, stop eating it for one, and then question why. Why is this making me bloated? Like, so many people, in my experience, just put up with the bloating or the indigestion or the gas. And it doesn't have to be that way. Like, you don't have to feel like you're 4 months pregnant every day after you eat a certain type of food. That's not how we're designed to be. We're designed to be vital and strong and really healthy and glow from the inside out, and that be a reflection on the outside. So if something is bloating anyone, like, question it. What is going on here?
Right. And then take a probiotic.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to eat a little like cultured food or probiotic or a little coconut kefir. I've noticed that
when we say little, like, always start little. I've seen a lot of people get super excited and smash the cultured vegetables and then they end up with disaster pants.
Well, not only that, but just like almost the flu, the Herxheimer effect of somebody. You put 90% of the clients that I see were heavy carbohydrate and sugar intake. That was their diet, was like starches and sugars, and I couldn't right away be like, take this high dose probiotic and eat cultured vegetables and do yogurts and this kind of stuff, high probiotic yogurts, because they would literally be sweating in their bed, like having the worst Herxheimer effect, feeling like they had the flu, achy, everything, because it's the die-off. There's just so much when those probiotics hit and they create that battle with the yeast in the body. It's just that it creates that gas, and the die-off is just like unbearable sometimes. And I've been through it. I went through it, and I'm the type of extremist where I was like, I'm just gonna not get it. No, I'm not gonna leave the house other than to get food. And I'm just gonna lay. I've had moments where I was just laying on my couch, curled up in a ball because my stomach hurt so much, because it was just getting layers and layers and layers of me. I mean, I recently, just even a couple months ago, I just started taking 3 months ago, I started taking this product called Lauricidin. It's a monolaurin supplement that is a really, really strong dose of lauric acid from coconut oil. And it has like all these amazing benefits of, clearing things like eczema and psoriasis and creating that like youthful glow again. It just really has, it's big in the skin world, but it's also, the reason it does that is because it's just like the yeast killer. It goes in there and it cleans up candida like crazy. So I started taking that, and I was like, oh, okay, it says take a quarter of a scoop a day to start. I'm like, okay, I'll take a quarter. So I started a quarter, like 3 days. And the fourth day, I'm like, I'm going to do a half a scoop. So I did half a scoop. I'm like, okay, I'm all right. I'm going to do a full scoop. I do a full scoop. I did the second night a full scoop. That night I was like, I feel kind of funny. I'm going to go to bed. The next day, I woke up and I was like, oh my God, I have the flu, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, why isn't this going away 4 days later? Like, I thought it was just a 24-hour flu. I sweat through every one of my sheets.
Oh, no.
My sheets were like dark, were like a tannin color, like a tea, like a dark brown sweat. And I was like, oh my God. So I talked to one of my friends, and she was like, oh yeah, that's like heavy metals and toxins. And I was like, really? And she was like, yeah, what did you start taking? I said, this Lauricidin supplement. She was like, oh yeah, that'll do it. So it was just like clearing. Like, I thought I was like uber healthy, and even that like got to a different layer of my body. So we're sitting on layers and layers and layers of toxicity, because if you want to compare the ecosystem of our gut to the ecosystem of the world, that's what we're dealing with.
Absolutely.
It's just toxic. So people that are, see people that are like, wow, you're that guy that's like super healthy, eats really clean. Well, yeah, because think about it. There's really not a lot more we can do right now. Like, our environment is bad. And if you compound that by eating McDonald's and drinking sodas, and the aging process is going to be that much faster for somebody like that, as opposed to somebody that's like constantly trying to defend. And we're like, we're trying to create an amazing immune system, a defense mechanism for everything that's going on around us on a regular basis. And on top of that, nourish all of our organs. I mean, we're in a rough time. That's for real. Like, we're in a rough time right now. And that's why I think that the health game, and has gotten so much bigger, is because people are realizing that, and they're going, well, I want to live. I want to be 80. I want to be 90. Like, I want to feel good at 80 years old. I don't want to be in a wheelchair when I'm 60. So, we just have to constantly be doing these things. It's just, you know what I'm saying? I think that
absolutely.
It's gotten to a point where we have to.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And we don't have to take it really seriously. And I mean, yes, we take it seriously, but still, have fun with it. And, if you stuff up, or if you I find with women as well, we're very, very hard on ourselves. And if we slip up, it's a huge opportunity for what I call the inner mean girl to then beat yourself up. And I just want everyone to take everything we're saying. And I feel like knowledge is key. And when you know what you know, you can't unknow it. So it's about educating yourself, and then putting the things in front of you that are going to help you thrive and really be the most vital version of yourself.
Yeah.
So I would love to know now, what is one thing that you would like to improve or work on within yourself at the moment that you wouldn't want anyone to know? Can you share something with us? Because I think it's really important that, people know that you're real, because and that you are still on your journey. This podcast isn't about, putting people on pedestals or gurus. Right. I want people to know that you're still working on stuff within yourself. So is there anything that you're working on at the moment or you want to improve that you maybe wouldn't want anyone to know about?
I feel like every day is a battle. I wake up and there's always something to work on. And it's not in a way, I've gotten more and more into not trying to focus on that there's always something to work on, because then you get in your head too much, if that makes sense. But more so just just trying to be aware and be allowing myself to be in more of a flow, to where if I wake up in the morning and what I want to do is have Alan Watts playing in the background while I'm like working on something, because I just want to like have those things just like in my subconscious, just kind of telling me certain things that eventually over time, it's going to make me feel a certain way or allow myself to let go even that much more. And I think that's really the journey for me, is on a regular basis. Even though I want certain things, I want to create a certain success. I have a drive to help people and get out there, and whether it's like with my desserts or with my knowledge with health or just compassion in general, like I want all these things and I want this success and I want all this to happen, but in a way to where I also need to kind of like sit back at times and just let go and allow myself to like flow into that, as opposed to like cling on to it. Because I feel like once we cling on to those aspirations or what we want the future to look like, we can squeeze it to death and it's gone. As opposed to just having a knowing. I'm trying to create more of like I just want to be, and my being, because I've prepared so much and because I have such a passion for what I want to do and my purpose, just being in general is going to create certain things, help me manifest certain things, and get out there and I feel like more and more positive things happen, more impact happens. I meet more people. The synchronicity is stronger when
Absolutely.
I'm allowing myself to just more so be the person I am, as opposed to try to do it all the time.
Yeah, I love that.
And I think that's my constant journey, is to not try so much, because I know that as soon as I do, or as soon as I attach to something, even in booking jobs, I'm still doing modeling and commercials, and even in like being on hold, when you're on hold for a commercial, you all, the first reaction is to attach yourself to that and be like, oh, I really hope I get that. Oh, I really hope I get the call. Like, oh, please call me the next day. Oh, and then all those times I don't get it. And the times that I've like gotten the call, you're on hold for this, and get off, and I'm like, oh, great. And then I just be and live the rest of my afternoon out and enjoy it with friends and get things that I wanted to get done or whatever, and kind of just like allow it to be mine, like claim it and be like, I really would love that, and then just let it go. And a lot of those times I do book it.
Yeah, exactly. It's, you vibrate at a different frequency, don't you? It's just like you attract that energy. So I couldn't agree more. Let's pretend for a moment that you have a magic wand and you could put one book in the school curriculum in every single high school in the entire world.
Because I'm really into Alan Watts right now, but I think that he's a little too philosophical, people would just wouldn't hit them the right way. It's just a little too advanced. I would say that's more of a college thing, a lot of the Alan Watts books. But the book that really got me going on my whole inner journey is Dan Millman's The Way of the Peaceful Warrior. And I really think that it's such a cool read, and there's like such a good dynamic thing between Dan and the Socrates character. And it has so many good subliminal messages about what we're talking about: letting go, allowing things to happen, understanding that we have a path, and there's consequences for certain things. And as long as you're on the right karmic path and you're doing things with integrity and those kind of things, you're going to keep on this path. And it's such a really cool read for anybody that's 13 to 18 years old.
Yeah, I agree.
Did you read it?
Yeah, I love it. And it's one of Nick's favorite books that he read at the very start of his journey as well. So yeah, it's amazing. So
I met Dan one time.
Did you?
Yeah. I was in Berkeley. Me and my friend Ben were like so into Dan Millman. I mean, by like my freshman year of college, I had read like every single one of his books. And there was a showing of The Peaceful Warrior. They made a movie of it. And so there's a showing at this like old Berkeley theater. And we were like an hour from there. I lived in Northern California at the time. And that's where the book took place, was he went to Cal. So me and Ben took a trip up there and watched this movie. And he was the surprise guest. And he came out and like talked and had a Q&A. And then me and Ben went up to him and like talked to him for a little bit. He was really cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So let's chat about your routine. I am totally fascinated and obsessed with hearing about people's routines and how a day looks for you. And I know no 2 days are ever the same, but can you talk us through like a typical standard day in your life, and particularly focus on the morning routine, like how you prime yourself for the day? What are some of your non-negotiables? And you don't have to go into all of them in depth, but just like let's give a little bit of an insight into a day in your life, and particularly the morning routine.
Yeah, my morning's like pretty intense, but
I know.
I haven't been able. I don't set an alarm. Even if I have a job that day, I haven't set an alarm in so long. My body has a clock. I'm up between 5 and 6 a.m. most days. It'll be rare if I sleep in past 6 o'clock. 6:30 is like, whoa, I just slept in. So I'm already brewing. I can sleepwalk into my kitchen and pour hot water into, my French press. Like I could do that sleeping. And so my coffee's going, I make my bulletproof coffee. And before I even get up, most days I've been trying to once I wake up, I've been trying to lay in bed and just have, 2 to 5 minutes of just like kind of like let myself slowly get up and kind of have like some words of some affirmations and gratitude, to where I'm just showing how grateful I am of life. And then I'll get up and I'll make my coffee, and then I'll sit down, and I'll usually have like 20 or 30 emails to get back to from people that are like, hey, I'm in New York. Like, when are you going to have your cookies? And it's like, soon. To people that want consultations, to whatever. And so I'll sit there for a good hour and drink my coffee and return emails and work on some things. And I've been creating a lot of content for some stuff that's going to come up. It's going to be really cool that I'll be able to share with people. And then, another time I've been working on my website a lot. But then as soon as I'm done with my coffee, I usually will work out in the morning. So say I'm going to work out at 9:30, I'll pre-make a little workout drink that's got everything from chlorophyll to cordyceps and branched chain amino acids, a little creatine. What else want to put in there these days? An electrolyte situation, some trace minerals. And I'll take that with like some groupings of things from turmeric and L-carnitine to this cod liver oil that I'm using, to stuff like rhodiola, and some stuff to like just I kind of created this little biohack morning situation that gets me energized, keeps my body burning fat as energy because I'm getting so much of it. I mean, I'm probably consuming 40 grams of fat in the morning with my coffee. So a lot of the things to activate fat, from L-carnitine to vitamin B5 to something like shilajit. I've been using that a lot. Even things like cordyceps, these are great. And then I'll create something like that. And before I've been going to the gym or going outside to take a run or go on a hike to be out in the sun, I've been laying down in my living room ever since. My good friend Brian Ellis is an amazing like yogi, and he's teaching these like breath work kind of courses now that he's getting more and more people to come to. And me and him do little like privates. Well, he'll just teach. He's been teaching me how to transition. We do the Wim Hof breath. You're familiar with Wim Hof, right, Melissa?
Yeah. Nick's a massive fan as well.
Yeah, so we'll do like 4 or 5 sets. So I've been doing like anywhere from 3 to 5 sets of Wim Hof, and then doing a little bit of Yoga Nidra, which is like the most amazing meditation. And just by the time I'm done with these 2 things, I'm so full of oxygen and I'm so clear. It's interesting. I said it to him the other day. We got done with the session and we took a walk to get some food. And usually in that walk, I would have checked my phone already like 20 times. Looked at Instagram, see if I had any like text messages, been on Facebook, Snapchat. Like my phone sat in the back pocket the whole walk. And I was so focused and so present. And I was like, wow, like that's what it really does, is it makes you so present. And so when I do that, and then I go on my hike, everything's illuminated. Like I'm walking up the hill and I want to dance. I want to just start dancing because I'm so happy. We're looking around and everything looks crisper. The trees look greener. And, you throw on your favorite music and you go up there, and now working out isn't even hard anymore. It's fun. And I get excited to go work out because I just feel good. The people like, once you get in there, like eventually, you get to that feeling where you just feel great working out. In the beginning, there's a struggle, but once you get past that plateau or get past that, over that hump, and you get into some of these things that help train your mind too. I think Nick's probably the same way. He probably loves it. He probably loves to do a little breathing and then go do his whatever he's doing, whatever his workout is that day. it's my favorite. Like, that's my favorite part of the day. My favorite part of the day is like right when I'm leaving the house and I'm about to embark on some kind of thing outside in nature and soaking up the sun post breath work. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome. And it's kind of, that's a lot. That's a lot to do in the morning. People are going, oh my God, these are so many things I have to do. And how many pills are you taking? And do you really do this every day? And no, I have normal days too. Like anyone else. Like I'll wake up and maybe instead of just only having my bulletproof coffee, I'll make some like paleo pancakes and like lounge around on a Sunday, and be lazy at times and go to the spa or get a massage or whatever. You need those rest days. You can't be like on all the time. But that routine, once I get back and I do that the next day, back in that routine, it makes everything that much easier throughout the day too. My stress levels are lower. Like I've always been, I'm an Aries and like a type A personality, to where when I do those things that make me feel like I'm in control, then the rest, then I'm able to even let go that much more, because I feel so, I don't feel scattered. I don't feel like I have to cling on so much, because I just feel vital,
Yeah, exactly. I'm exactly the same. And I'm an Aries too. When's your birthday?
April 18th.
Oh, I'm April 13th. That's why we get along so well.
That's it.
So I couldn't agree more. I'm exactly the same as you. My morning routine sets me up for a successful day. And when I don't do it, things just don't flow as well. So I would love to hear now, what are 3 things you're most recently grateful for in your life?
I'm so grateful for, obviously my family, my main family, my parents, my mom and dad and my brother, but even more like my whole family, mostly including my grandpa, called Papa Cecil, Papa Pinky, Cecil Cronin. He's not doing the best, but he's in good spirits, and he's been in the hospital and now working on some rehab stuff. He's 84 years old. But he went in there in pretty bad shape. He had a fall, but that was about a week and a half ago. And we've all just been like there and rooting him on and just getting him energy, giving him literally, like, we're all giving him energy.
That's so beautiful.
Like I'm sending him as much energy as I can from here. And I even it was so cool. I sent like a little snap and Insta story out, just asking my following to like send love and light to him and really give him some help to heal. And I got I got like 25 messages in that day. And then one of my friends who follows me, her name is Mahan Kern. She's an amazing Kundalini yoga healer. She was actually Yogi Bhajan's healer while he was alive. She basically did everything for him if he had any issues. And she's in, I don't even know, I can't remember, Morocco or something. I can't remember. But she was like, I'll help do a remote. I'll send him some, like a remote healing, send him some love from where I'm at, yada, yada, yada. Literally the next day, because I had told one of my cousins, I showed her, I sent her all like the messages back, and she was like, oh my God, I haven't even showed Papa this, but he's in like such good spirits today. He's talking to everybody. He's been eating a lot of his food. He looks like he has such more of a glow. And then my mom just texted me recently, like right before I got on this conversation, and he's like, he wasn't walking. He wasn't even leaving his bed. They were like pushing him around everywhere. And he's been like walking in the garden the last couple days, in his rehab center. And he's just an Iron Man. I'm just so thankful and grateful for him, and that, for myself, but also for my mom and my Nana, that he's still like putting up a fight for this. It's so beautiful.
Oh, that's so nice. The power of energy, hey?
Yeah.
Have you got 2 other things that you're super grateful for at the moment?
How many?
You got to have 3.
Oh, did you say 3?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I missed the 3, and I like went on and on. I went on and on about my grandpa. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. Anything else?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm grateful on a daily basis for my health and being able to wake up every day in such, a beautiful city and have sunshine and be able to do the things that I want to do. I look at that. A lot of people will wake up here in Los Angeles and they can be cynical and look at all the horrible things that could be from, the industry and just it being so lonely here at times and those kind of things. But I feel like I wake up here on a regular basis and we're in, this is paradise. It's like 75 degrees here on a daily basis. I can walk outside in a tank top, go hike a mountain, have amazing food, have amazing organic food that nourishes me, and just be able to constantly live in this amazing place that gives me what I want to thrive.
Yeah.
And so I'm super grateful of my location and my health in general. And then
that's 3. You've done 3.
Oh, was that 3? Are those together?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Location and health.
Location, health, and grandpa.
Papa, location and health. Yeah.
Okay. Before we wrap up, I've got 3 because we're running out of time now. So I've got 3 rapid fire questions.
Oh my God, I'm scared. Okay.
Okay. So in your opinion, what is one of the most important things that everyone can do for their health?
Eat less sugar.
Great. Okay. What is one of the most important things that we could do for our wealth? And when I say wealth, I mean, your career or your finances, your purpose, like what you do in the world.
Focus more on something that can help others as opposed to just helping yourself.
Oh, love it. Good one. And finally, what is one of the most important things that people could do for love? So self-love or relationships?
Be more vulnerable.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's really good. That was really good. Oh my God. They are awesome. So, before we go, I just wanted to say thank you so much for the work that you do in the world, for continuing to educate yourself so that you can help other people. Nick and I absolutely love having you in our life and, meeting you almost 3 years ago now, I think it was, when we first came to LA. You've just brought such love and joy to our lives, and we love that we have you on call whenever we need, and we're so grateful just to have you in our life, for all the love that you share, for all the knowledge and just your passion that you have for helping people thrive and be the best version of themselves. And I'm so grateful. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much. I feel exactly the same about you too. And I've been kind of slacking, and I need to get you guys some more of these recipes that I work with.
Yeah. So for those of you that don't know, Crosby's, I will put all of the link in the show notes, all the links to all of his social media, to his website, Tailored Life. I will put all those details in the show notes so you guys can go and follow him. He is awesome to follow on Instagram and Instagram stories. He shares a lot of amazing recipes.
Yes.
And he also doesn't share a lot of amazing recipes. And I know why, because, he's got a book coming out eventually. And so all those recipes will be in that book. But there's so many times where he's making some delicious bulletproof, high-fat ice cream that I'm literally drooling over as I watch you make. So, and my little boy and Nick, we all love them so much. So Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yeah, those recent ones, I think I made a chocolate chip banana butt cake with a butterscotch caramel ice cream and then some caramel sauce. And I layered it and food porned it and poured the caramel on top. And I was like, I know I'm going to get a message from either Nick or Melissa. I'm going to get, somebody's going to be so pissed that they don't have this in front of them. And I think sure enough, I think I got a message from you. So I was right. It was great.
Seriously, I'm like, send me this recipe. I swear to God, I'll sign some sort of contract that I will never share it with anyone. I just need this recipe in my life. Oh my gosh, get what we just got an ice cream machine delivered. So we're gonna make all of the ice creams that we make in the machine, which will be super cool. So I'll post those up. But thank you again. I'm so honored to have you, and just can't wait to see you next time we're in LA.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I can't wait till you guys come back.
We'll see you soon. Thanks, Crosby. Wow, what a wealth of knowledge. I hope you guys got a lot out of that. I sure did. And I feel inspired to add some medicinal mushrooms into my morning bulletproof. And I feel also inspired to maybe add some more breath work to my morning routine. I know when I have done it in the past how powerful it is. So I might start incorporating that into my morning routine. I'll let you know how I go. If you got a lot out of this like I did, please subscribe and leave me a 5-star review, because then together we can inspire more people to take control of their health and happiness. And don't forget to tell me on Twitter who you would like me to interview, and make sure you do that by tagging me, which is at Mel_Ambrosini, and the person you want me to interview, and use the hashtag the Melissa Ambrosini Show so I can find it. And for everything that Crosby and I mentioned in the interview, you can get all of the links in the show notes, which is melissaambrosini.com/7. And you can check out all of my other podcasts by heading to melissaambrosini.com/podcast. Thank you so much for being here, and for wanting to be the best version of yourself, and for showing up today. You seriously rock. Now, if there is someone in your life that you think would really benefit from this episode, please share it with them right now. And until next time, don't forget that love is sexy, healthy is liberating, and wealthy isn't a dirty word.